Hello, citizens. This is Councillor Gian-Carlo, Ward 9 TV Light. This is a conversation for my constituents in Fairview, but also for people who are generally interested in community-scaled recreation facilities. Yesterday was the one-year anniversary of the collapse of the Fairview Arena's roof and the shutdown of that sheet of ice that, put more pressure on the ice sheets across the city. It was also the end of tenure for the Women's Hockey Association's use of that and an amazing stewardship of that facility. And the city took the opportunity of the one-year anniversary to release some of the findings of the recently completed engineering study that basically looked into why did the roof collapse. And the big decision was that we will not be rebuilding a single sheet of ice on that site, and there's not enough room to move to a double sheet of ice. And I've had a lot of conversations in the media since then about that, and a lot of back and forth with people on social media and also via email. But one of the consistent sort of questions that keeps coming up is what do we mean when we say that one sheet of ice doesn't make sense and we have to pursue economies of scale? And then the other one is, what do we mean when we say we have to take a regional approach to delivery of infrastructure like ice sheets? And so I want to address both of those and do so with the understanding that we have to strike a balance. What we've learned is that the single sheet of ice with the plant, with the concession, with the changing rooms, and all the costs associated with keeping the lights on and keeping that facility going, doesn't make enough sense for for a relatively smaller amount of money. You can build a slightly larger plant and you can keep two ice sheets going, and all of a sudden the programmatic synergies and the economies of scale of having two sheets makes more sense. What we also know is that the ultimate is to have 4 sheets of ice together, because when you have 4 sheets of ice together, you've got a facility that makes more money than it costs, that serves more people, then has less downtime, and it just hums on all cylinders. The 2 sheet is preferable to the 1 sheet. The 4 sheet is ideal. The 1 sheet now is not something that we will ever build again because it just doesn't make sense. And what we have is we've got a number of 1 sheet ice arenas that are reaching the end of their life. I mean, right now as we're speaking, the Jack Setter 1 sheet arena in Milligan-Ogden is shut down until August for roof repair issues. And so we've got these a whole fleet of these facilities that were built at the same time with old school building science, and after the decades of hot and cold, they're all reaching end of life, and we have to figure out what to do moving forward. Now, one of the concerns, and it's the same idea as a school, for many decades, school systems were like, it costs us less money to build one giant school and bus all the kids there than it does to keep a bunch of small schools around. And what we've now learned is that while it may cost less money to build a giant school, you don't get as good an experience and you don't learn as well in a giant school as you do in smaller schools. And so we have to strike the right balance between what makes dollars and cents and what makes social sense. And a lot of the concern that I'm getting from people over social media is, does that mean that we're no longer going to build community-scaled recreation facilities and everything's going to become a giant thing that you have to drive to? And the answer is no. We are going to build community-scaled facilities. We're going to build them in a much more integrated fashion with a whole suite of things, and we've got to figure out how to do that. The integrated civic facility is the community hub of the future, and it's going to combine a whole bunch of compatible uses, and it's going to bring in other uses like actual rent-paying things like restaurants and maybe housing to help pay the bills for that place. We have to figure out how to do that, but this is not just about centralizing things. When we decided that we were going to shut down the Fairview Arena, the writing had been on the wall. We were holding out hope that we'd get a big enough insurance settlement to make it make sense. It doesn't make sense. And what we also know is that we have to have a very clear understanding of who's using these ice sheets, who's going to be using these ice sheets, how they're going to grow, and how we're going to distribute them around the city to maximize their benefit for the entire city. And before we decide how we're going to replace the ice sheet that we lost at Fairview, like my vote is to finally twin the Jack Setter Arena in Ogden and then have that more efficient thing in the localized context. We have to be a lot more thoughtful than just spending. We don't have that kind of money to spend, and when we start spending money, we have to do so in the most thoughtful way. So there is going to be a much more thoughtful, city-scaled, like needs assessment, and then a very thoughtful understanding of how to deploy it. With regard to Fairview, we have a huge opportunity because we've got the amazing tenant of the Indefinite Arts Society. They've got an incredible plan to pursue a really integrated arts hub on the site. We've got the community association that, years ago handed back the keys to the city because there weren't any kids left in the neighborhood. Now Fairview is teeming with kids and they need the space. And so we got to figure out what their needs are. And then we got to figure out other things that we can put there. So we have, an unfortunate loss of that ice sheet that is now, final. But we are going to replace it, and we're going to replace it in a thoughtful way over time. And with regard to the amazing opportunity we have in Fairview, now we get the opportunity to sit down and collaborate and develop that integrated civic facility of the future. What I want to absolutely implore everyone to do is sign up for my newsletters. Sign up. I can't reach out to you. I'm not allowed to. You can come to me and say, keep me informed. So please sign up at Gian-Carlo or gccarra.ca, and we will inform you of everything that's happening and how you can get involved in these very exciting conversations going forward. Thank you so much. Gian-Carlo signing off.